to Changing Austin. I'm Stacy Armijo, your host, and today I am joined by Matt Cisneros. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
So you are famous for two things, and I'd love for you to tell us what at least the two things are that you're most famous for here in Austin.
I would never say that, but I'll let you say that, I guess. So two things. Primarily, my day-to-day business is called Backyard Ventures. It's a media company that focuses on podcast, YouTube, monetization. So we deal with creators across the board. So as I mentioned, podcast, YouTube, newsletter, social influencers. That's the day-to-day kind of bread and butter of what I do. And separate of that, I am one of the owners of Cisco's, Austin's oldest operating Tex-Mex restaurant. So purchased that in 2017, and it was started by my grandfather in 1950. So kind of juggling a couple of things here, but I always say, media and Migas are kind of my two day-to-days.
Media and Migas, those go together really well.
We try to find a connection, but yeah.
Well, so what's so interesting to me about you being on this podcast is it feels like the two sides of the world that you just described are exactly what we're trying to focus on with Changing Austin. Yeah. So the reason that we have this podcast and the conversations that we're really wanting to have are about what has made Austin great up to now. So kind of what is the history that has made Austin the cool city it is today? And then looking forward, what is it that we need to do in the future that might be the same, that might be different to create Austin's next chapter of success?
Totally.
And so it seems to me like you've got one foot in a world of maintaining a legacy brand and evolving that for the next phase. And then also smack in the middle of platforms that didn't even exist 10 years ago or a little more.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of them is 75 years old and the other is being innovated every day. So absolutely true.
So let's start with the one being innovated every day.
Okay.
So when I have talked about, we've got this podcast now, Changing Austin, and it's been so much fun to put together. And people say, oh my gosh, everybody has a podcast now. Why do you need to have a podcast? What do you do? So as you think about why you've chosen that as the thing that you're focused on, why is that your area of focus?
I guess there's multiple reasons. One, the easy kind of answer is my background was in digital media, and that's what I knew previous to that. But in that company, I learned a lot, and then we ended up selling that company. And so I could have gone a couple directions, which is where your question kind of starts. And honestly, I think it's just a great new platform and medium to allow people to do and say whatever they want, but also in a manner that is not high expense. So you can have a super high quality podcast that costs you upwards of $10,000 an episode, or you can be in your basement or garage and use your iPhone to do it. So, and in turn, you then record, audio on your iPhone, and then you edit it on your iPhone, or you can do all of the, higher kind of caliber components of it. But I really liked the idea of the creator mentality. And, it used to be you had an Instagram account and you amassed a bunch of followers there. And now what it is you have a voice across multi-platform. And so what we do day to day is, as I mentioned, it started as podcasting, but it grew into other channels simply out of need. And so that's what really got me going and excited is it started as kind of more transactional. And now it's like we can see our clients grow and enhance their audience reach because of other platforms beyond podcasting.
And what's interesting to me about the format is it feels so intimate, and it feels accessible in a way that, I have grand intentions of the many books I'm going to read. I have a side table that is filled with all of those good intentions, and I almost never get to them. But I can't count how many hours I spend listening to podcasts on any given day, because I've got time in my drive, I've got time in different things and so it strikes me that maybe the reach for a message even has some new avenues in a way in this format.
Totally. And that reach doesn't mean it has to be huge, right? Mm-hmm. So I often tell people a couple things when they say I want to do a podcast. And the first thing I always say is don't do it for money because that's like you're immediately going to lose. It's not
the irony that you're in the monetization business and you're like, don't do it for money. I kind of like that actually.
To make money in it is very 1% of 1%, right? Like to get that reach. But messaging, like that's not, you don't proceed with messaging for the result of money. You do it to hit an audience that, whether it's niche or not, you potentially make change, right? So with that, I think that if 50 people listen to your show and 10, 5, 2, doesn't matter, understand your message and it makes a change in their everyday life or decision making or whatever it may be, that's very valuable. And so you don't need to do that on a mass scale, but if something's important to you and you want to speak to it, that allows you the voice that, once again, you don't have to become famous to get this platform. You can just do it. And so I think that's the super valuable component that a lot of people are attracted to, is your voice is very accessible quickly.
One thing we say at Amplify, because we're a not-for-profit as a credit union, is revenue is not the reason that we do what we do.
Totally.
But it is the evidence of our mission well delivered. Yeah, so if it were the objective, we'd do things differently, and I don't think we would do them as well. It is not the objective, but it is in some ways the measure of how effectively we're doing that. But that I do feel like that distinction is really significant.
For sure. And I think to what you just said, like, you measure that backwards, right? You say, we need to at least generate $10 on this, but we want to hit all of our KPIs, right? And so maybe you could make $20 on it, but if 10's the number, you then have that delta to be able to utilize the voice that you want to have as an outlet to hit those measurables, right? And so that's the beauty of it, is you can back into all of these things. And once again, the production quality can be so expensive, or it can be what you want it to be, but your mission, all of those things can be done in an audio format without having to crazily change your life to make the voice known.
So you work in this space now, which is a new and emerging space, and I'm sure if we had the same conversation 1 year from now, you'd probably have something different to tell me, just based on what we've learned in that time. And then in the other side of your world, you work in a space that you said 75 years? 75
years this year,
75
correct.
This year. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And so what have you learned by being in both a 75-year-old business and a brand new emerging business?
Totally. I've learned a lot, right? So restaurants are very hard to run. They're typically not crazily profitable. The failure rate is insane. What I've learned there is not what I created or started, which is different than Backyard Ventures. Cisco's is something that is a legacy business that is successful today because of not my groundwork, but because of what my grandfather did. And I was fortunate to be able to take that over to continue, a legacy that I deem successful, not monetarily, though it does fine, successful in generational, ability to continue. And so in that, the root of that is he was good to people. He was very open. He treated everybody equally. And so that business would not be where it was or where it is today had he not done those things in the past to grow it, right? You can't just say, I'm going to go start an awesome restaurant and, day one, we've been open 75 years. Nobody can do it. It takes the time, just as any day passes. That's what it takes, right? So what I've learned most from the restaurant is like the heritage of it is super valuable. And I've been allowed to take that and all of the principles that my grandfather put into that to run another business. And so the complementary component of that is treat people right. And, don't do anything that you're going to look back at and say like, I shouldn't have done that, or I would have reacted differently. It's like, take the high road and be the better person. And that's the foundation of the business I started 6.5 years ago. And so, reflecting on all of it, it's make people want to be there, make people excited about what it is, make people want to support you. And, on the Cisco side, I can post one Instagram and say, hey, we're having an event. People show up. I don't have to do the traditional method of hiring a PR firm to go spread a message. Like, that message exists because people have a lineage following to that restaurant. Mm-hmm. And, when I'm there and you see the grandfather who's there with his son who's 40, who's there with his son who's in college, that's cool to me. And that work happened not off of a result of what I did, but because the groundwork that was laid, which is be equal, be fair, be, just a good person, was reflected in that business. And once again, I take that to my other business day to day.
And so do you find that creates a different environment in Backyard Ventures? I'm thinking about those lessons as compared to what in my mind I would think of as sort of a tech company, or like a company rooted in technology. Do you find it makes your business different from others that operate in the same sphere you do?
I'd say so, because I'm not as cutthroat as I think most CEOs would be in my space. Transparently, like, I've raised $0 for Backyard Ventures. It's a very successful company that's grown a lot off of a foundation, once again, that is now not just me. It's 15 other people that are doing a really, really good job at following a vision that I thought was very doable, right? So in that, I can happily say like 6.5 years in, not one person's left the company. And
Wow.
what I continue to get as feedback is because of the culture, right? Like the people within the business, I can loudly and proudly say are smarter than I am at what they do day to day. The day they came on was not the case because I knew the ins and outs of how it worked, et cetera. But I'll tell you everything I'm bad at. One thing I'm good at is delegating. And that skill set has allowed me the ability to take a stand and say, okay, like culture is very valuable. And so I can build that culture and other people be excited about it, grow into new roles and opportunities, et cetera, because of kind of what the foundation is and was, right? So as a complement to that, once again, it's taking all the lessons I've learned from another business that have been there forever and saying, okay, this is what I want. Exposure to that was something that, I think gave me a leg up from the beginning.
So as a small business owner of multiple
Sure.
small businesses, and you have a family.
I do.
So how do you, as you think about navigating and balancing how you show up in both of those organizational environments and you balance that with home, what's that like for you?
It's a lot different today than it was in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
In the beginning, when we bought Cisco's, my son was 3 weeks old.
Woo.
And so, you're taking a big leap to do something that you really, really care about, but you're also thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Is this money something that should be going to my kid's college fund instead of something that I'm hoping works? It's a very emotional thing,
Sure.
whereas today, fortunately, the infrastructure is there for the business that I used to work 1 million hours a week. And it's not that I don't work hard now. It's that I'm more the visionary opposed to the implementer on the day-to-day basis. And so it allows me the ability to set a schedule, do things that I want to do. This morning, my son goes to school. The last bell's at 7:45. We leave our house at 7:30 on an e-bike to take him to school.
Wow.
And come back, and then I shower and go to my office. And schedule wise, like I work out when my kids are asleep. I go to the gym at 6 a.m. I'm home at 7:05, and it allows a balance, right? But I think the thing that a lot of people miss when they're younger is you don't really have the option for balance. You want to grind to be successful and get the job done. Whereas now, fortunately I can schedule those things to have a healthy balance in lifestyle, but also in a manner that like, could I scale this and maybe be 20% bigger faster than naturally? Possibly, but my work-life balance means too much to me. And that 20% would then go to the bucket of my kids not getting what they need and my wife not getting what they need. Cisco's not getting what it needs when I can put, as much time in as I want. So people often say like, hey, we got to get together. And I say, send me your calendar, right? It's like everything I do is scheduled. It's very infrequent that I'm just on a whim, like going to play golf or something. Like I don't have that time because I want to be able to utilize the time I do have to the things that I want to do.
That makes me feel so much better because I always feel like that nerd that when people are like, we should get together and do things. And I'm like, the answer is yes. I totally want to.
Yep.
It might have to be 6 weeks from now.
For sure.
it's if you can understand that. And, people of course do.
Definitely.
But it's, if you have a multifaceted life and you're fitting in all these things, but you want to try to not feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Right.
Then it can be helpful.
And to that too, and I harp on this in our meetings every single week, but like relationships are very important, right? So to what you just said, people want to get together. Your relationships from when you're 20 to you're 30 to you're 40 and on, that narrows. And that's because you only have so much time. And so I think what you really learn is how important those relationships are. And not that you want to shed friends or contacts or whatever it is, but other things rise to the top. And so I think that's why, as we sit today, my relationships, my top 5 friends maybe are different now than they were 10 or 15 years ago. And that's not out of choice. It's out of life convenience based upon kind of your availability.
Absolutely. So let's shift to the 75-year-old business as it relates to how you're evolving that business. So what is it that you're thinking about you're wanting to endure, and what are the things that you've seen that these things need to evolve in order to strengthen for the future?
Sure. Obviously, it's technology is something that exists today that's way further than it is than it was years ago, and every day it's bigger and better. But with Cisco's, we took over once again a legacy business that was handwriting checks, did not have social media, so did not have a liquor license, closed at 2:30. And so we saw opportunity. A POS system at a restaurant that's not a novel idea, that's a need, right? So little things like that. Once again, back to the touching reverse engineering, kind of how you want something to look. We just put all that in paper and said, okay, this gives an uplift of this, and we think that works, right? So I don't over-engineer as much as I do see opportunity. And the East Austin demographic and population is so much different now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, dating back to when my grandfather started it. So it's more just being opportunistic and simple pencil to paper math, making things work, opposed to some crazy algorithm that's going to tell me I'm going to get rich off one restaurant. Like, we went into it knowing you don't get rich off one restaurant. We wanted to keep something really cool alive, and have done a decent job, I think, of completing kind of what my grandfather would have wanted moving forward.
And so as you think about the customer base, so the existing customer base obviously is kind of seeing through these changes, but also East Austin is changing. I presume that means there's a lot of potentially new customers who don't know about Cisco's history, but would be open to it. What reaction are you seeing?
Kind of twofold, right? So 75 years ago, the person that walked in the door, as is today, was white, black, Hispanic, Jewish, Catholic, whatever. That's always existed. So that demographic today exists also. It's just a different, the urban sprawl is crazy that there's just more people. So it's more populated. So I don't look at it as opportunity as, oh, we're now a hipster spot versus this. At the core, we serve eggs and biscuits, right? And so your audience is anybody who wants to eat a breakfast or a lunch or have a drink, right?
Feels unifying.
Correct. And so I don't look at it as any more opportunistic as before, because the meal's there, everything's there right in front of you. It's just how do you get people in the door? So yes, I mean, it's much more dense than it was previously, which creates opportunity. That is hand in hand with expense. And so it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, there's 1,000 people here today that weren't here yesterday, because the second your taxes increase or any general expense increases, it's just complementary to what you were doing the previous day. So we look at it way more as just, if we can create a constant cool vibe and understanding of the importance Cisco's is to Austin because of who's been in that door. And that doesn't mean it's somebody famous. It means it's somebody famous and the construction worker and the real estate agent and the lawyer. Those are no different than today than they were so many years ago. Maybe there's new job titles, but it's just, we want to create a landscape in place that people feel comfortable. And if you do that, things happen. The same way that you talked about podcasting, not building it for monetization. If you do things well, the reactionary response is people show up. So that's always been the goal.
So community and conversation is just a cornerstone of the Cisco's experience. I did manage 6 C's in that sentence right there. I feel very proud of myself for that. So tell me how that came to be initially, and is there anything you do today to keep that as part of the experience beyond the eggs and biscuits?
For sure. The community component is something I keep mentioning about my grandfather, but it's just so valuable because it's here today because of him. And the kind of old story that he would tell I will tell today is, somebody walks in that door, they're an equal, right? Like, that's the coolest thing in the world to me, because I feel like, especially with technology and everything, like, you're so easily measured upon what's in your bank account or what you're doing publicly. It gets to the point, should we be doing this with our kids? We saw it on social media, right? Like, all those things, like, Cisco throws that out the window. Like, the second you walk in, everyone is an equal. There's no comparison. The pictures on the wall of LBJ and Willie Nelson are as meaningful as the person nobody knows who they are, because the story that connects there is, oh, like, that guy's wearing a Texas shirt. That's awesome. Like, my grandfather, big Longhorn, and like, he was friends with Darryl Royal, all these things. And the importance of it is, as you mentioned, community, right? And so you're not getting a seat at a table because of your bank account. You're getting a seat at the table, honestly, probably quicker because you go there every day. We don't care about your bank account. So that component is something that we've really, really just honed in on, and ensure that people in the neighborhood know who we are, but also the new businesses, right? Like Allie Mueller with Law Barbecue. I mean, she eats at Cisco's all the time, and she's not in there because it's the new hotspot. She's in there because it's not the new hotspot. And so just maintaining the continuity of the background, the successes, and just every bit of what's on that wall is what it is, right? Like we could totally do a rebrand and that would ruin everything to date. And so, the community component that we keep discussing is just, that's natural to us. It's people want to build community, and I'm fortunate to have taken something over that had a 1,000-year-old tree versus a day-old tree, right? Like those roots are so deep that we don't have to harp on it as much as maybe most do. And our staff is so just deep on this that people come in for them. Like when I'm there, I don't want people to come and say hi to me because our staff's who they're going to see every day, right? Like I'm not in there every day as everybody else is that works there. So I'm not the shiny object. Like we were happy to take it over. We do the interviews, we do those things, but that's to grow the touch points. When you walk in the door, like our staff is who makes people come back for. The food is what people come back for. And like, that's the community. It's not me. It's not my partners. It's, kind of the groundwork that was laid and the same experience you would have had 20 years ago is what you're going to have today.
So I think what I'm hearing is there's not necessarily something you do. But I am hearing making sure that you don't stop doing the things that are creating that vibe.
The special sauce is something that people wish they could create. And that's when it gets overcomplicated. Like simplicity is the success of this business.
So I'm curious if you have any interviewing techniques to know, as I'm thinking about, is this person the right person to join a 75-year-old culture? Sure. And are they gonna represent it the way that it has been before? Is there anything that you particularly focus on to discern that?
Yes. It's hard, right? Because like nobody's going to know it as in depth as you are.
Sure.
And interviews often are also like people tell you what you want to hear. So it's kind of hard to give them anything, but like sometimes it's best if it's blank slate because then they get immersed in the culture and the experience and they're like, this is amazing. We see opportunity. Sometimes it's awesome when someone's like, I've come here my whole life. I get it. There's no right or wrong answer. We more want to make sure they're a culture fit. And we want to make sure that the same cook that's been in the kitchen for 25 years gets along with you the same way that the waitress that's been there since I was born, who literally like I have pictures with when I was a kid that I don't remember, like don't make her mad, right? Like that's, I look at these people as my boss because they're the life of this business. And so, yeah, we want you to be a cultural fit more than we care about, the excessive P&Ls that you're going to discuss. Like that's great and all. We want you to make the business bigger and better. But if you're hospitable and you can do the Cisco's way, the way that we think it should be done, then I think it all works itself out.
So other aspects of community, I'm thinking a little bit more broadly. So as you think about being involved in the Austin community, you're on the board of United Way.
Yes.
And so as you think about the things that are important to you in Austin and sort of what do you think the broader impact is that you want to create here?
I mean, inclusion's definitely one. I think, East Austin has had a good turn. It's Brooklyn of Austin now, right? Like it really is. And I think people seeing just everything that my grandfather did, right? Like he didn't speak about a lot of these things, but I mean, he would pay kids colleges. He would just give them money if they didn't have certain things, right? Like he would solve issues for people, and not to say that it's with money, but because he could afford those things. He was not a rich guy, but he was rich in many ways. He would help people. And so, we try to be involved in anything that we can be involved in. We when we donate, we try to kind of make it for more East Austin schools and East Austin kind of projects, because we think that continues kind of that bloodline and that excitement for East Austin. I think it's easy to Google like Tex-Mex Austin and see that we're a top search or any of those things. Like we're going to naturally get those people. But I think just continuing to have that narrative of the value here is you want to be an Austinite, you're new to Austin, any of these things, like there's no better way than to be immersed in the oldest Tex-Mex restaurant in Austin. So, once again, we can donate, we can do all of those things. But I think just the conversation we're having now, whoever hears this, it's valuable for them to hear, like, this is a passion for everyone in that restaurant. This is not I show up and get paid this. That is part of it, obviously, for employees, but they could leave undoubtedly and go get jobs paying more money. This is a family to them. And so if we treat our customers the same way, like the community spreads and grows and naturally kind of takes care of itself.
So as you think about East Austin generally, is there anything that you feel like is either one, working really well, let's do more of that, or that you feel like is a real challenge that we need to address?
Working very well, I would say, is, we had Los Pinkies, which is a Tejano band, play our 75th anniversary party. Like, there is nothing more fitting than that, right? Like, it takes it back to the very old school days of East Austin being very, Hispanic and honestly more segregated than most places. And so you typically only went to Cisco's or went to East Austin if you were going to Cisco's. My grandfather kind of united a bunch of different people. And so we take those roots back to things like that. When we have artists come in and do the side of the building or murals, whatever, like, we want them to be East Austin people because that's giving back to the community and we're serving them. And when they sign their name on that mural, like, and you Google them, like, their studios down the street. Texas Coffee Traders, our coffee provider, is 2 blocks from us. We do Austin Beer Works because they've come in forever and, like, they're patrons of Cisco's for a very long time before we owned it. And so, yeah, we want all of those things to be people that we love and care about and not something that'll make us an extra, nickel here or there. And so I think just maintaining community ties, whether they live there or not, if they see themselves in East Austin often, like, we see that as community.
So you mentioned the importance of operating by values, and that's really sort of the through line to both of those businesses. Has there ever been a time where you sort of came face to face with a hard decision and you had to make the call based on values, and it might have been a difficult one?
Absolutely. I mean, early on, we had people approach us with management groups saying we'd love to take this over and manage Cisco's and think of it as mailbox money, essentially. And, that was something that, once again, I had 1 child at the time. I now have 2. I was starting a business. There were many challenges that I'm like, I'm so spread thin. This would really alleviate a lot of headaches. And had any of them actually had, like, the perfect value system that we did, then maybe it would have been a different, discovery process. But it didn't, right? And it's not saying that they were wrong or there's anything wrong with it. It was just, it didn't make sense for us. And so, fortunately with Cisco's, I have 2 partners. None of us did this to pay our mortgage, to do any of these things. We did this to save an awesome business, and we just put every dollar back into it. And so we're able to kind of make decisions differently than I think most would.
Well, and that seems to be a trend. It's my understanding. I'm thinking of Saxon Pub, and I believe that the reason Saxon still exists is because Gary Keller bought it and said it's not going to become a condo.
Absolutely.
And so as I think about where the iconic businesses rely on, it's not exactly philanthropy, but
Sure.
The willingness to not necessarily optimize profit.
Totally.
What role do you see that playing, and anything else playing, in being able to maintain the things that are making us special?
I think it just continues the narrative of it works itself out if you put the pieces in place. So money's great. Like, money is absolutely great. But when you taint the value of history, it's not fun anymore, right? So I think just continuing the passion always pushes through. It may not be day 1, it may not be day 10 or year 10, whatever it is. But if you continue that, like, good things happen, and you just see, like, sparks of brilliance and greatness that you didn't necessarily expect if you were doing it via a more formal vehicle of formality.
Well, I have one last question, and it's something I like to ask all my guests. Sure. So looking back, what do you think is the thing that has made Austin the best city it is today? So what is the best thing about Austin up to now that you feel like has made us great? And then looking forward, what is the thing you feel like we need to pay attention to most to be successful in the future?
So my answers are going to be very complementary to one another. Historically, authenticity, right? That's why people love Austin. That's why people moved here, right? If things change, they change, but they're here because there was a cool factor that sparked something. And so when you shop, anything you do, like, remember that you're now in Austin because of all of the cool things that existed. Somebody listening today is going to say, like, oh, South Congress was a sketchy place to go to years and years ago, right? Like, there's an Hermes store there now. South Congress is cool because of the quirkiness of it. And Cisco's is cool because of the quirkiness of it. And so I think reminding yourself that you're here not to change something, but to be someone who can be heard, because in other cities your voice maybe wasn't allowed to be heard. That's why we're here, is because Austin was, keep Austin weird doesn't mean be weird. It means be yourself. If that's weird, then you can be weird. Moving forward, I would say like innovation, right? So opportunity exists because of innovation. There's more jobs, more tech, all of these things. But in doing so, once again, the kind of thing that gets me going is that authentic component is why you got here. And so do your tech jobs, do all of the things. I'm not mad at the traffic, because if it's not here, it's somewhere else, and it's inevitably going to be here at some point. But like, I always tell people when they ask me, like, how do you feel about Austin present day? You've seen it change so much. It's like, you can complain about something or you can be opportunistic. And one thing, last week I went to one of my clients' talks, Ryan Holiday, and there was over 1,000 people in this auditorium. And something he said that really stuck with me is somebody that he's friends with who just passed away said every day he wakes up and he has to decide, am I going to be happy today or am I going to be very happy today? And so when you make that as kind of your mantra or thing that you look forward to, there's less complaining and more, opportunity to be had. And so I try to take that with me kind of every day and say, sure, you can complain, but then you're one of the complainers. So complaining is not going to change something. It's like, so then let's take the opportunity ahead of us and kind of see what we can make of it.
Absolutely. And you have made me very happy today. I'm going to make that choice today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.